Hey everyone, it looks like it's 11 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Thank you all for joining us today. This is our Getting Started with Microsoft Teams webinar. This is going to be the first of three webinar series where we kind of, give you guys an overview of Microsoft Teams, and then we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into collaborating. That's on Tuesday, and then using Microsoft Planner for managing projects, and that's on Thursday. More info on that later. Just quickly introduce myself. My name is Terrence Tang. I'm the VP of Sales with Chips Technology Group. Also helping us today, we have Stephanie Memos. She's our marketing coordinator.
Hey, everyone.
So she'll be helping us answer and field any questions that you might have. Any questions or chat, please feel free to post them. We'll get to them towards the end of the webinar. We have a Q&A section planned out. So without much further ado, I'm going to get started. So quickly, just a little bit about our webinar today. Because it is an overview, we do want to show you a few slides before we go into the actual walkthrough. That's because everyone that's logged into this webinar might have a different understanding of Teams. So we kind of want to level set and just kind of give a brief overview of what Teams is, and then we can go into the live walkthrough. So on the agenda for today, we want to present to you a few real-world client business use case scenarios where they have certain challenges that we had to overcome. We thought that might be interesting to start as some of those situations that our clients were in, you might resonate with. Then we'll go over a quick overview of Teams and what we perceive to be the main features of Teams. We'll go through the walkthrough. We'll summarize it with key benefits and takeaways, and then we'll save the last portion of the time that we have for a live Q&A session. So I'm going to get started. So I want to present to you three real client challenges that we came across over the last 6 to 9 months. So recently, we had a client that operates as a holding company, and they had 6 operating companies. So as you can imagine, they have 6 different companies, employees all over, they have offices all over the country. They had their files in all different places, emails in all different places, and it was just really scattered. It was really impossible for them to communicate with one another effectively and share information. So that was a situation where we brought in Microsoft Teams to help. We had another situation or another client rather, where 30% of their workforce is remote. This client puts a very high value on collaboration, touch, culture. So they were challenged with finding a way to keep their entire staff engaged, with the 30% remote workforce. And that again is a situation where we brought in Teams. And lastly, a nonprofit medical provider. So this one was interesting because they broke away from a larger nonprofit. So they kind of started with nothing, except really, the files that they had. And, another thing specific to them was they had to be HIPAA compliant. So between the fact that Teams is HIPAA compliant and the fact that Teams can manage their file load, it was a great solution for them. So I'll go next. So just quickly, what is Microsoft Teams? So Microsoft Teams is a collaboration platform that helps your team stay organized and have conversations all in one place. So there's a lot of features to Teams. Today's webinar is really going to be an overview. So I wanted to highlight the 4 key areas that we're going to focus on today, and also the ones that most people, when they talk about Teams, are referring to. So first and foremost, creating and sharing files within the same place. So most of us, might be accessing files from a file server, or maybe you have some type of cloud storage. Whereas in Teams, you can create files within Teams, edit files within Teams, and also collaborate. So collaborate meaning more than one person can work on a file at the same time. Your calendars and your meetings are all in one place. So your Teams app will have your calendar. You can join meetings easily, and your Teams Outlook is actually the same as the Outlook on, your calendar on your Outlook and on your mobile device. calls and conferences, so you could call anyone within and outside of the organization, both using voice or you could do video. We'll show you that later. And chatting and instant messaging. I don't know about you guys, but I get a lot of emails. So for us to implement Teams recently and have a place to go to centrally look at conversations that are happening between different team members, any questions that are going on, and just not have to deal with the flood of emails. That's been a huge game changer for us, and we're getting a lot of the same feedback from our clients. So I'm going to go into the live walkthrough now. So I'm going to close out of this. So this is kind of what we do, right? So when I go into, well, we're all working remote now, but when we get back to the office or when I log into my home computer, one of the first things I do is I launch Microsoft Teams. Now, interestingly, it brought me to the last place that I was in within Teams, right? So that's one of the cool features about Teams is that it brings you to exactly where you left off. Had I been in my calendar, for example, and I closed Teams, it would have taken me to the calendar. So all right. So Teams, what is the team, and how do teams work? What are the different components, right? So when you think of Teams, so the easiest way to think about it, on the left, these are all the teams that you're a part of. And the team could be a group of people, whether it's a department, whether it's a group of people that was put together for a specific project. So as in the case here, this is a demo tenant, by the way, guys. So this is there's no live data here. So this is a Microsoft demo tenant. So they gave it the name of Contoso. Contoso, if anyone on the call is technical and taking any certifications, you'll know that this is the fictional company that Microsoft likes to use. So this is organization-wide. So within here, every single person in the company has access to this team. Then you have here, for example, you have a Mark 8 project team. That is made up of a group of people who is going to launch a product called Mark 8. Then you have retail, sales, and marketing. And then I'm guessing, like most of you on the call within your organizations, you would have a human resources group, accounting group, operations group, and for us, we have training. So I'll start here. I'll kind of show you some of the capabilities of Teams and what you can do. So we are a managed service provider. So we, one of our important things to stay on top of is that we have to get our training and certifications in order. So one of the first things that here I want to show you is you can actually add tabs to any team. So for us, Microsoft is a big partner of ours. So we have Microsoft certifications here, so our employees can easily access. Also, security is big for us, and also security is big for most of our clients, if not all of our clients. So we have our awareness training here. So here, just easily accessible links, and these are web links, right? So if I add, I'm going to show you. I could add any website. So if I do add website, you can put anything here. You could put, if you wanted to put Google for some reason and make it easy for people to search, you could do that. And that's just one of the neat features. And sexual harassment training, that is something that I believe every employee of every company has to do once a year. So we put that here so that it's easy for people to get access to. And then, like I showed you earlier, here's Google. That's just to show you that this is a very flexible tool. You could put links here. Mostly, I recommend putting links here for things that need to be easily accessed by your employees. So having said that, I'll jump over to human resources. There are a few more examples here. So for us at CHIPS internally, we use TriNet as our PEO. So when our employees need to handle any HR matters, they would go to this link and log in and manage their, whether it's, for me personally, I'm taking an extended leave soon. So I had to go into the portal to fill an extended leave form here. Also interesting here is we set up a demo PTO calendar. So if you imagine, if within your organization, having an easy way to see when everyone is on vacation. So it looks like I'm supposed to take PTO starting today, and Stephanie is going to be away starting next week. I'm sure a lot of us on this call are already doing that, but just what we wanted to illustrate is that it's all centralized. I have not left the Teams app. And then one other thing too is you could put Word documents up here. So seeing that it's the HR folder, I put a sample PTO policy. So I just downloaded this off Google, so there's not anything substantial here. I'll take you guys to accounting. So there's some other interesting tabs here. So what we did here was we set up a sample revenue tab, right? So for the accounting team, they're going to want to know what revenues came in, cost of goods sold, et cetera. I mean, this is just a high level representation. This is using a tool called Power BI, BI standing for Business Intelligence. And basically it allows you to take data from any source and make it visually easy to digest. So you have a quick view of where you are in this example, Q2, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And that's with most data sources you could do this with. So I will take you guys. So when I said earlier, teams, there are different teams within the organization. I failed to mention that the teams are made up of channels. So the channels here, if you take a look, there's general. General is the default. So anyone within the sales and marketing team has access to the general tab. This is, as you can see here, these are all my fictional colleagues. We've been chatting up a storm for the last few weeks, and you could type a message here, which everyone will get. Also, quickly, I want to point out here too is that you can actually see who has access, who are the members of the team, right? So, very important for security purposes. So as far as sales and marketing, these are the folks on the team. And one other thing I did want to show you is you can actually turn on notifications. So within this team, for example, if I wanted to get every single notification of a post, I can actually change it to banner and feed. So banner is basically a pop-up that will show up, and then feed is within the app. And they include all replies and then channel mention. So I'll show you what a channel mention is. So quickly, a channel mention is if I say I want to talk to Nestor here, you would simply just type @ It's kind of like all your other social media apps. Nestor, hello. So if I was Nestor, I would get an alert that someone posted a message for me. So some of the tabs that I wanted to take you to that I thought was pretty cool that I put up here is product launch. So like I said earlier when we kicked off, we are having a deep dive into Microsoft Planner in a week. But for the purpose of this overview webinar, I did want to show you. So this is Microsoft Planner. So Microsoft Planner is an app that is available within the Teams ecosystem that allows you to manage projects, whether they're small projects or whether they're huge and vast and complex projects. So in this one, there's a product launch event. As you can see, there are a bunch of tasks that needs to be completed. There's labels, there's the resources that are scheduled, and then there's also status, right? If they're crossed off, that means they're completed. So I won't go into too much detail here because we're covering this on Thursday, but I did want to show you this as part of the overview. One of the cool tabs are polls. So internally, the sales and marketing team is planning a holiday party. So what we want to do is figure out how many people are coming, whether they have food allergies, and all the typical questions that you would ask for a holiday party. So basically you create a form and you share it out via link. Here you could just basically, there's different options to share it out. And when people get it, they fill it in. And then you as the person who created the form, who created the poll, will have access to all the results. So after that, there's another channel that I want to show you that has some interesting tab that kind of shows the features of Teams. So the go-to-market plan. So this is an example of a PowerPoint that you can share either within a tab, or you can also put in files. So within each channel under each team, there's a file repository, right? So you can put all your files here, and everyone within the channel will have access to this. So even though this was uploaded by Megan, if I'm in the channel, as there are a few people in the channel, they will have access to it. So another interesting feature is Excel. So this is a standard Excel spreadsheet, but it's just shared as a tab. So when you share it as a tab, what happens is two things. One is it's easy to get to because it's up top here. But two, you can actually modify this. You can actually modify this, and you can actually modify it with other people. And lastly, just to show you, you can actually open it within Excel. So I find that 90% of anything that I find myself doing within Microsoft Office now for the last year or two, I have not launched Office. I've been doing it within the app. But the reason why I wanted to show you this specifically within the spreadsheet is that I know that for the majority of the times I found myself lacking features within either the web browser or within Teams, it was because of Excel. So there could be formulas, there could be different things within Excel that you prefer to do in Excel. So that's what I wanted to show you. If there's some questions coming in, we'll get to those. We'll get to those in a little bit. And then lastly, here, same thing here, just a little more details, another project plan. So there are project plans. So this is for the event, for the launch, right? So you could pretty much think of it as tabs being, you could share documents, you could share plans, you could share websites, things that you want your team to have easy access to, you will want to put them as a tab. So, so I'm going to keep going. So one thing, if you notice, there are icons on the left. So these represent kind of like the main apps within Teams, right? So I'm going to go into calendar. So this calendar, like I said earlier, this syncs with your Outlook calendar. So it's not like a separate calendar. This is your calendar. So if you see here, I put in the wrong time. So this, I made a fictitious appointment. That's a reminder for me that we were having our webinar today. And then also too, I created an invite here to talk to my sales and marketing team. And from here, you can actually just join the meeting, right? How cool is that? That you can actually click on an invitation and be able to join a meeting. So you can actually, I'm going to pop up on screen in about 2 seconds. Hi, everyone. So no one's going to answer on the other end, obviously, because these are not real people. So that's just a little bit of the calendar feature. As far as chat, so a couple of things here you could do with chat, right? So like I said earlier, like I think this is one of the biggest game changers for us because our emails have been cut down. I don't have facts, I don't have numbers, but I do know that I can always go back in here and look at different chats. So if you can see here, these are all private, by the way. So if you see here, I'm talking to Deborah, I'm talking to Johanna, then I have a group chat with a few other folks. And the cool thing here is that you can voice call all these people. So Deborah, Lee, and Lydia, I could voice call them all at once, or I could video call them. So if I voice call, that's what it would look like. And I could do a video call, which you saw earlier. So if there were people on the other end that picked up, they would actually be in quadrants. So it would be the three of them plus me, and we would all be on the same screen. Next, I want to take you guys to calls. So calls, a few things we could do here. So this is every single person in this specific organization. Depending on the size of your organization, you might want to have everyone here, or you could do a group, right? So you could do a group for sales and marketing and put the sales and marketing folks, put HR folks in there, accounting folks in there. It's really up to you. It's totally customizable. So what you could do is you could find the contact here and just call them, right? Like what I showed you earlier, you could use voice, you could use video. Also available to Teams is it actually could replace your phone system. So if you see here, I can actually, if I want to dial my own cell phone number, if this feature was set up, I would be able to connect, but this is a demo, so there is no live dial tone to dial up. But as you can see, the feature is available. One other thing I did want to mention here when it came to calls is that when I said it replaced your phone system, it's convenient. I use it all the time from my computer, but it doesn't have to be that way. So you can actually have it set up where your phones, like your actual phones on your desk, are tied into Microsoft Teams. So depending on how you use your phone system and if your users are remote or if they're in front of a desk, you can mix and match on how you want voice to be deployed. And then lastly, I want to take you guys to, as far as the apps go, I want to take you guys to files here. So it's very similar to basic Windows. You have access to all your recently opened files. And also here is every single file that is shared with you within this Teams organization. Now, you might be wondering what location means. We're planning that for another webinar, but it's basically the way Teams works. And I see one of the questions here. The way Teams works is any file, any folder, any team that you set up, the backend is actually SharePoint. So the reason why we're not talking about SharePoint right now is we wanted to just show the interface of Teams, but just know that anytime you create a document, it actually winds up living somewhere. And in this case, you'll see like SharePoint sites. This is the name of the site. Here's the folder, and that's the subfolder. So something that I wanted to point out. A few other things here. This command area. So it does two things. One is you can actually search for files. Like for example, I want to find the PPO. I could find files, or you could do commands like call someone. You could actually do it from here, right? So that's pretty interesting. Multiple uses for one location. I also wanted to show you guys two other things quickly. So this is what the mobile experience looks like. So you can see it looks pretty much like the desktop. So if you're on a guest, if you're somewhere not in front of your own computer, or you for whatever reason can't launch the Teams app, you can actually pull up a browser and log in securely. Of course, that's another webinar. But you can log in and have access to most of your features. You'll notice that calling is not here. That's because calling is not yet supported via browser, but for the most part, most of your other features will be available. And then lastly, I'm going to go back to the slide because there's something on here that I wanted you guys to see. So this is what, I have two slides on what the mobile would look like. I apologize, we couldn't get the mobile, a better way to show you the mobile, but basically on the left here, audio video calls, it truly does look like that. You have your calendar on your mobile. When you have a video conference, this is what the join the meetings column looks like. And when you could actually share screen. So there's been many times I've been commuting. I'm on a Teams call. I flip my phone sideways, and then that last screen to the right, I can see the people. I'll see the content. It's as if I had my laptop working off my laptop, but I'm working off my phone. So just key benefits, right? So what did I hopefully show you today is being able to work securely from anywhere, from any device. So whether you're at your desktop, your laptop, you're on just a browser or you're on your phone, most of the features that you're going to find that you use are going to be available for you. One thing I did want to point out, on the mobile app, you can call. So within the mobile app, you can obviously call from your own mobile device, but you could also call from within the Teams app and also video calling. Quicker, secure, centralized access to data and information, like I showed you. You could share within the tabs, you could share actual files, you could share links to information, you could even add third-party applications that has an application within the Teams ecosystem. So meetings become easier. So, very timely that we're talking about this now, but my entire company is working remote, and I find that we're doing more and more video conferencing. I'm doing so many video conferences and video calls a day that my AirPods actually run out of battery. So never run out of batteries before, ever, but I'm able to use the whole charge. So I know that we're collaborating a lot more. Chats and calls, videos, like I said, improves collaboration. And one thing that I didn't show you here, and that is going to be on Tuesday, is collaboration with external partners. So we have clients now where we have active projects going on, and what you do is, when I showed you earlier where you had different members within your organization as part of the team, you can actually add external members to your team. So that is something that I definitely want to show you guys on Tuesday, because collaboration as a whole, chat as a whole, there are a lot of kind of best practices and how-to. So I want to dedicate Tuesday for that. And then lastly, just before we get into questions, just to wrap it up, if you're planning on getting started with Teams or Office 365, I do want to say two things. So one is, make sure you have a backup strategy in place. So common misconceptions: Office 365, Microsoft 365 Teams, there is no native backup, right? There's versioning, they keep different versions of files, but if you delete something and you don't realize it, and it's 2 weeks later, it's gone. And also, just to consider working with a Microsoft partner to plan the migration. So Teams itself is easy. You could pretty much use it if you're using Office 365. You could use out of the box, but to use a lot of the other features that I showed you, such as file sharing, setting up Teams to be your voice platform, those things all takes planning and execution. So definitely plan on working with a Microsoft partner on that. So with that, we've got about 2 minutes left. I'll go to some questions. Stephanie, what should we cover?
All right, so first question that came in, what is the cost for Microsoft Teams?
I didn't cover that, thank you. So Microsoft Teams is free, right? So for any organization that is currently subscribing to Office 365, you have Teams natively. Now, whether or not you have all the features, that's a separate conversation, but as far as the Teams, the chat, the internal calling, the file sharing, that's all there. So some of the tabs, the phone replacement, some features are an additional payment, but as far as chat, internal calling, internal conferencing, and file sharing, that's all included.
Great. Question number 2, how long does it take to implement Microsoft Teams?
That's another great question. So Microsoft Teams, like I said earlier, like being that as part of the subscription, it's pretty easy to get up and running at a basic, I guess, level, right? So you can go into, instead of for example, instead of opening Outlook, you can go to office.microsoft.com and log in with your Office 365 username and password. And from there, you can actually see your Teams icon, and you can actually start chatting with people within your organization. So as far as the basic chat and calling and video, is pretty straightforward. I would say, those are even functions that most end users should be able to get up and running on their own. As far as using it for file collaboration, I would say that the time requirement, a lot of it's going to be on the organization using it. Meaning, what we always tell our clients is we don't want to take on a messy file structure, right? So we always work with our clients to try to make sure that we clean up the file structure. You know, whether it's like they have a accounting folder, HR folder, a clients folder. You know, we want to make sure that we understand what the folders are, what content's in there, who needs to access them. We kind of make sure that we sort all of that out before we do the actual migration.
Awesome. Question number 3, is Teams HIPAA compliant?
Yes. So Teams out of the box from a security perspective is HIPAA compliant. So meaning it checks all the boxes as far as HIPAA security requirements. As far as the use of it, though, there are things that you have to do. For example, you have to make sure that PII does not get leaked outside of the organization. There is something called data loss prevention that prevents that. There are also other checks and balances in place, not just for HIPAA, but for any regulated industry. You know, think of Teams and Office 365 as a solid foundation, and just depending on the industry that you're in, you have to set the right data governance in place to kind of get the final checkboxes crossed off.
Great. One last question. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, please, Stephanie, go ahead.
One last question. Can you restrict members to only certain channels within a team?
Yes, absolutely. So there are multiple ways to set up. So you could set up a team so that by default, every single person in your organization has access to it, or you can set it up so that only specified members have access to it. So now when you do after that, so at the top level, what I showed you in the, let me actually just pull it up here. It's a great question around data security. So there's two levels of both. There are two levels of permission. So you have at the team level, then you have the channel level. So if I created a new channel here, I could say private, and I actually make it private. Only the people that I want to have access to the channel will have access to the channel. So my favorite person, Deborah, I'm going to give her access, and that's it. So great question. Yeah. So you can. It's very similar as far as the file permission goes. It's very similar to your traditional file server. So you know you might have different folders on your network now that only certain individuals have access to. It would function very much in the same way.
Thank you so much. Well, that looks like that's all the time we have for today. If we were unable to get to address your question, feel free to send Terrence an email at tang@chipstechnologygroup.com, and keep an eye out for our next webinar that Terrence had mentioned, next Tuesday, April 14th, Master Chat-based collaboration with Microsoft Teams. Thanks everybody for attending, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.